Welcome into DAZN MMA. Sean O'Connell and Dan Hardy coming off of PFL 2. It was women's featherweights and heavyweights inside of the Smart Cage. And also a special guest joined us on the show. Jake Paul, who made a big splash in the mixed martial arts world when he signed with the PFL as a part, eventually also as a pro fighter, as someone who's going to participate in a mixed martial arts bout with the PFL. He stopped by the broadcast and we talked about his schedule and his immediate future.
I'm revisiting the drawing board, going back to the basics, changing some things around with my team, and we're assessing who it is that I'm going to fight next. There's some really big names out there. We're talking to multiple different teams and trying to make another massive fight. So stay tuned, and hopefully you'll hear an announcement from me soon.
Well, look, I'm curious to know who you're fighting next in boxing, but you made huge news in the MMA world when you signed with the PFL not so long ago. So all of us in the MMA world want to know, when will you make your debut in this sport, in mixed martial arts?
Yeah, look, it's looking like end of 2023, you know, maybe beginning 2024. But I'm really excited. You know, even just watching the fights tonight has got me hyped up. You know, I've been training jiu-jitsu a little bit and getting back to my wrestling roots. Being, you know, I grew up wrestling in Ohio, Division I, have that background. So I really just have to focus on learning the kicks. So I need about a year or so, and then I'm going to be ready. But excited to be doing it with the PFL, and hopefully we can lock down a big name, because I want to challenge myself. People think I'm crazy, which I am, but I like doing things differently. And since the beginning of this whole like influencer boxing thing, I've always said that I've wanted to do MMA. So for me, I'm excited to do it and to be doing it with the PFL.
What are we going to see next from Jake Paul, the boxer?
You know, it's a good question. I feel the obvious one, of course, is to go after Nate Diaz, because that would be, you know, mega bucks. I think people would tune into that, you know, regardless of whether they've ever watched Jake Paul fight before or not. I think that would be a real game changer, especially because, you know, the character and the intensity that Nate Diaz brings. I mean, it might be a rematch with Tommy Fury, although I think Tommy will probably stay away from that now. He's got the victory and, you know, the relief that comes with it. It's most likely going to be somebody interesting, like you know, I mean, it might even be Masvidal, but I don't know what his contract situation is with the UFC now. He's retired. They might keep him locked up for a little bit. We might maybe hope it's GSP. That'd be a fun one.
That'd be amazing. I think Diaz is the most likely. I think Diaz would be the big pay-per-view sell. I think that, you know, that's what Nate Diaz wants at this point in his career, and they'd give a lot of the fans what they're looking for. Jake hinted that he, you know, it's a big name. He wants a big name, and there's very few people that really fit that bill, unless he's going to talk about like a big name in pro boxing. What kind of matchup does even make sense there? There's not really anyone who's a boxer near his weight class in his experience category, obviously, that's going to make any kind of sense. So it's going to have to be, I think, a converted mixed martial artist, and that means someone like Diaz or Masvidal would be in the right place. More importantly, at least from my perspective, is when is this kid going to make a mixed martial arts debut? Now, I've made this point several times with Conor McGregor. I will make the point again with Jake Paul. He's got all the money in the world. Neither he nor his brother need to be engaging in these dangerous hobbies that they're involved in, stepping in to boxing matches, in Logan's case, doing the WWE stuff. Jake does not have to sign up to, you know, get into any combat situation with professional fighters in order to feed his family. I admire the fact that he's doing it. I admire the fact that he's been able to sell himself as a pay-per-view product. He's been able to sell himself as a draw, as a mixed martial artist. He said on the broadcast, I got to figure out how to deal with things like leg kicks. I'm going back to what my roots are in wrestling. Mixed martial arts wrestling and folk style high school wrestling are two very different things, as you're well aware. So this guy's got to drink through a fire hose just for the MMA part, not even preparing for a boxing fight. Is 2023, late 2023, early 2024, too optimistic of a timeline?
Drink through a fire hose. I like that. I like that. It might be a little bit optimistic for him, but then we don't know what the rest of his game is like. I think it's going to be interesting because I feel like he's going to have a decent enough foundation in boxing and wrestling to be able to put it together quite quickly. And as you said, all the money in the world, he's going to be able to bring in whatever coaches he needs. Like you'd bring in Mike Brown from ATT or someone like that straight away, wouldn't you? Mike Winklejohn, perhaps someone that can kind of bring everything together for him in a way that's going to make sense very, very quickly. I don't think mixed martial arts needs to be that complicated. I think somebody with a decent basic boxing skill set that's got enough wrestling to be able to dictate where the fight goes, I think could be problematic for a lot of people. And I can't underestimate the kid because he speaks well. He's clearly a very smart, intelligent individual. The way that he's not only built himself up in a social media sense, but as an actual fighter as well. Say what you will about him, but because he doesn't need to do it, the fact that he is shows me that he loves it, which means that he's going to dedicate himself to it. I'm excited to see what he does with it. Of course, he wants to take on big tests and those kind of things, but it's much safer to take on a big test in boxing than it is in mixed martial arts. You can't take many low kicks before you decide you want to retire and do something else. And, you've got to think what a heel hook would look or feel like to someone that's never been tangled up in one. It'd be a real shock to the system because there's so much to learn compared to boxing. But, he's got nothing else to do with his time aside from that and, promote his drinks and whatever.
There was a great moment that I was completely unaware of that unfolded over the weekend, and someone turned me onto this on Monday. Biagio Ali Walsh, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, is just starting out his own mixed martial arts career. He was part of our card down in Vegas on PFL 2. And I guess somehow, some way, I think on social media, Jake Paul was like, hey, what about me and you, Scrap? I'm 0-0, you're like 4-1 or whatever. And Ali Walsh said, go pick on someone your own size. I'm a lightweight, which I think is so fantastic because it shows the savvy of that kid and his family, first of all, knowing what this fight game is all about, being like, don't just chase whatever the crazy money is. He's in it for the long haul. But I thought that was savage. Just be like, no, go find, if you want to be in the world of mixed martial arts, I'm not going to be the one who jumps in there 30 pounds, 40 pounds lighter than you for you to fight. So I thought that was great because as Jake Paul tries to select an opponent, that's going to matter. It mattered so much in his boxing career, which is still very young. It's going to matter even more in his mixed martial arts career when it starts, because fighters with any sort of a well-rounded skill set are dangerous. And I think he's a great athlete. I think he's a smart kid who, like you said, has all the resources he needs to catch up training-wise. He could probably pack 3 years of training for an average person into 1 year. But that still makes you 3 years into your training as a mixed martial artist, right? So opponent selection is going to be a big deal here.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. But, he's not going to want someone that's not a name, which makes it challenging because anyone that is even remotely a name, even if you pulled somebody from a lighter weight class that's got enough experience, it would be a very, very different thing to a boxing match. And I like Biagio, standing his ground and saying that. But, even at this stage with his mixed martial arts game, I think he could be problematic for Jake Paul. We'll have to see what he looks like when he gets in there. Jake's not going to throw himself into the mix at the bottom of the pack and work his way up. He's going to want someone that's a big name. He's going to need someone that's probably, 40, 41, can't do anything else other than kickbox, has not fought for 10 years. That's kind of what I'm thinking he's going to need. Someone,
Do you know anyone like that, Dan?
I don't know. There was that British kid that, got pinned by GSP for 25 minutes, the one with the mohawk. He could never wrestle. That might be a good shout. Yeah. We'll see.
I don't know who you're talking about. I can't pull the reference.
I kind of feel he's too young for me to fight, to be honest. What is he, like 23, 24? It's I'd like to see him fight someone that's got some mixed martial arts experience, but he's also at a similar point in their career. I like his thinking around Biagio Ali Walsh, but of course, he's a lightweight, and Jake Paul surely is coming in, middleweight or a catch weight around welter.
Yeah.
Even if he fights, maybe he could fight Nico Ali Walsh in boxing. If he beats him, then Biagio will fight him in mixed martial arts. You've seen Nico; he was there at the weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That guy is going to be a special boxer in a few years. He already is, but there's something quite special about the way that he moves, and I expect to see the same things from Biagio as well when he starts to kind of grow into his game a bit more.